Learning objectives. After completing this module, learners will be able to discuss the uses of iron-made tools took the abrupt change in agriculture, discuss the efforts were made to develop the irrigation in the field of cultivation, explain the social lives in villages and the origination of towns and cities, underline various components of ancient history like old scriptures, sculptures and travelers' notes, describe the crafts and artisans' lives and spread of trade and commerce. Iron tools and agriculture. The use of iron started in the subcontinent around 3000 years ago. We found a large collection of iron tools and weapons in the megalithic burials. Before 2500 years, we could see the increase in uses of various iron tools. They included sickles, tongs, different types of axes, and plowshare. Agriculture as a profession. Flourishing kingdoms understood that they would not survive without support of villages, which would help provide taxes and tributes to the kings. Thus, the rulers helped to build the irrigation system in the villages. Many of canals, wells, tanks and artificial lakes were created at that time. Irrigation processes ascertained the crop production throughout the year and it increased the production as well. Villages and rural lives. From Sangam literature as created 2300 years ago, we came to know about the villages of southern India. Vellalur were the large landowners and the head of the villages. Ordinary plowmen were Uzavar and the slaves were called Adimai. In the villages of northern India, the head of the villages were called Grama Bhojaka. They were like the local king of the villages as he held major portion of cultivation land of the villages and many slaves to work on the fields. The rulers of the kingdom sometimes were dependent for collection of the taxes upon them. Grihapatis did have less amount of lands and the Dasa Karmakara were the landless labourers. Blacksmiths, potters, carpenters and weavers also lived in the villages. Historical resources and their varieties. We came to know about ancient history from various components like Jataka Sutra and other stories and numerous scholarly writing like Arthashastra and other religious scripts, from various sculptures and architecture and the narrations of the travellers who visited our country then. Jataka and other scriptures. From Jataka, we came to know that in cities, people used to work in various professions like potters, blacksmiths, helpers, gardeners, and else. Many traders used to visit the towns in order to get some good deals with royal people. From Arthashastra, we came to know about the societies, its various type of artisanship, and their related trade throughout the region. Sculpture and architecture. The sculpture and the architecture are very useful to know about old history. Besides decorative railings, pillars, and gateways, sculptors carved stones in the depictions too. Around Delhi, ring wells were found created by ceramic rings and numerous rows of pots to use for toilets or garbage dumps. In a sculpture of Sanchi Stupa, a city scene was carved upon the stone. Narration of the travellers. Unknown Greek traveller narrated about the port of Bharuch, erstwhile Bari Gaza, as through the port, wine, copper, tin, lead, coral, topaz were imported and different Himalayan medicinal plants, ivory, agate, carnelian, cotton, silk, and perfumes were exported. Efficient fishermen appointed by the king helped the ships to steer in through the narrow passage of the gulfs. Economy and development of cities. Coinage of India, issued by imperial dynasties and middle kingdoms, began anywhere between 6th century BCE to 1st millennium BCE and consisted mainly of copper and silver coins in its initial stage. Before that, we have seen there were several other processes as available where people used to give something in exchange of something else. Cowrie shells were first used in India as commodity money. According to Sangam literature, during old days, the salt merchants came to South India along with their families to collect salts from Middle East and China in exchange of rice and other materials. New urban settlement in Mathura. Mathura was an important settlement for more than 2,500 years. It was important because it was located at the crossroads of two major routes of travel and trade, from the northwest to the east and from north to south. There were several shrines in the city. Many inscriptions were found along the statues. About 2,000 years ago, Mathura became the second capital of Kushanas. It was a great religious center for Buddhists, Jains, and Hindus as well. Crafts and its trade. Pottery and weaving. From several archaeological evidence, we came to know about extremely fine potteries, which are called northern black polished ware. This black soil was predominantly found in the northern part of the subcontinent, and they had a fine glaze. From several ancient texts and scriptures, we came to know that cloth weaving was very important craft in those days. Varanasi in north and Madurai in south were two important centers for these crafts. In Arthashastra, we came to know spinning and weaving were done in workshops under the supervision of many officials. Chanakya described that widows, young women, and others might be used for processing wool, bark, cotton, hemp, and flax. Raw materials, training, trade, and finance. Shreni was an association of traders, merchants, and artisans. It was originated by the craftsmen and merchants. They used to provide training and raw materials for the craftsmen. They also acted as custodians and bankers of religious and other endowments. A closer look, Arika Meadow. From various distant lands, numerous goods reached the port of Arika Meadow between 2,200 and 1,900 years ago. A massive warehouse to store the unloaded goods in the port was found. The pottery crafts were very much flourished, and the amphorae and the aretine ware pots were found during excavation. Summary. Let us summarize what we have learned. Uses of iron tools and the advent of irrigational measure brought a great change in the field of cultivation. The emperors and other rulers established various ways for tax collections. In northern and southern India, the village lives were quite same. Many cities and towns were developed with many other professions like blacksmiths, potters, carpenters, architects, artisans, etc. The